So, perception versus reality. Looking at the difference between the biology and social reality of race in America. All right? Because when we talk about race, the first thing we have to deal with and think about is where do people come from? All right? What makes that difference that we see when we look at other people, deal with other people? All right? And the idea is, you know, do we simply evolve here and somehow, you know, start off hunched over and back up hunched over? Or do we, or is there something else to it? What is it made of? How do we think about it? And the oldest ideas about race really deal with something quite simple. The idea that we all fundamentally aren't alike. That there's something that makes us different when we deal with other people. And in looking at that, we have to ask the question, are we in fact the same species? Because, let's be honest, most of the time we trust the evidence of our eyes. And so, when we look at, you know, this guy here from Togo, and this British guy here with the big ears, right? Or our Indian friend here in India, as in from the country India, you know, people die. And, and yes, he has dreadlocks. I like that guy. Or our guy from Kenya here, we look at these people and, at least on the surface, they actually look quite different. But when we get beyond that, are there important differences that actually exist? So, the first way to look at this, you know, I'm going to come from an evolutionary perspective. We have what's called the multi-regional model. The multi-regional model is the idea that early pre-humans spread to different parts of the globe and finished evolving there. All right. Now, what's good about this idea? That Homo erectus goes different places and then becomes, you know, Neanderthals or some of the other, like Java Man and some of the other versions that we see. Well, what's good about that is it gives us a reason for why people are different. But what people often don't talk about is that it also provides us a plausible explanation for why one group of people are superior to other groups of people. If folks really didn't evolve the same, then maybe they're not really the same. The other model of this is called the out of Africa model. And this idea is the idea that fully modern, anatomically complete humans evolved in Africa and then spread to the rest of the world. Now, what do I mean by anatomically complete? In a lot of little things, things that you wouldn't normally walk around thinking about, stuff that deals with what we call morphology, which is how the body is put together and shaped. There are things that are fully human. Like, for instance, see that? You may think you scratch your pet's chin, but they don't really have a chin. Nothing else in the animal kingdom has a chin except us. Or stuff with our teeth and how nerves move in and out of spaces in our teeth that make us different from versions that we found in the fossil record before us. Fully modern humans, something really simple. Our foreheads, even if we make jokes about some people, our foreheads really don't slope to the back. Our foreheads are very far up, straight up and down. That makes us fully evolutionarily evolved humans. All right. Come on and have a seat. Now, this is supported in part by archaeological evidence, and it's also supported in part by this idea called the Eve theory. All right? The Eve theory. This is based in biology. So first we need to do is go to something about biology. Who recognizes this? Right here we have the mitochondria. We already heard that. Anybody remember what this part does? Anybody remember that part? Get Carlson on the horn. This part is the powerhouse for the cell, right? But what you may have studied with her or your other biology teachers or not is that this part also has its own DNA. All right? When we usually talk about DNA, we mean what's over here in the nucleus. It's 46 chromosomes, 23 from your mom, 23 from your dad. That makes you. But in the mitochondria, it has its own DNA. And so what's very interesting about that is it's only passed down through women. All right? So every single person in here, you have the exact same mitochondria as your mom, as your grandma, as your great-grandma, and so on and so forth on back. Gentlemen, it ends with you. Unless your sister passes it along. Because your kid will have your wife, your baby mama, whatever you have. Your child will have that. All right? Now, because it's only passed down from mother to daughter and passed on that way, it stays the same. It doesn't get mixed, just like everything else gets mixed. Because of this, what that means is that the only time it changes is if it mutates. So if it mutates, we can then take a sample from Sue right here and go sample some other people and find out roughly how far back they separate. In doing so, we can then take samples from any two people, any particular place on the globe, and go and backtrack to find out how long ago it was that they diverged from one another. All right? In doing this, what we discover is that we are in fact one species. By taking samples from people in Australia, in the Amazon, in Africa, in Europe, Native Americans, Indians, Japanese people, we have taken samples from all of these places and found out that that divergence happened roughly, depending on who you talk to and how you date it, from about 175,000 to about 225,000 years ago, and that original code we refer to as Eve. All right? That's the Eve theory in a nutshell. What this means, we're all one species. That there's no real significant difference between people across the globe. And in fact, we only vary by about 6% between people, not between us and other animals, but between people. Little things, little differences, hair, skin, we'll kind of talk about that in a moment. So, how else can we show that we're one species? Another one is interbreeding, all right? Human genes are exchangeable. This is sort of like the dog thing, right? Who has a dog? Who has a mutt? Your dog is a mix of every other dog that's walking around, right? Why? Because dogs can do that. You can take a greyhound and a Pekingese. That's going to be interesting. But you can get them together and they'll have a puppy, all right? You can do that with people. You can take a man from Africa and a woman from Asia. They can make a baby. You can take someone from the United States, someone from Amazonia. They can have a baby. You can do this with people everywhere because folks can interbreed. There's certain animals that can't do it. Like, example, can you mix a horse and a zebra? No. Ooh. Everybody's like, I don't know. You can, but anybody know what the bud is? It's sterile. Absolutely. It can't pass that on because its code isn't right. All right? If something is actually the same species, then they can have children that can then have their own children. All right? People are like this. Let's take me. You can drop me anywhere on the planet. You can drop me in Asia, in Ethiopia, in Russia, with love. In India, if you really like me, you'll drop me in Dominican Republic. And anywhere you drop me, I can make babies. Now, clearly we know a couple of these can't be mine, but now, of course, these are all fun jokes because anybody who knows me knows